Welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level grammar lesson, and we're continuing our study of the passive voice. And today we're going to be comparing passive and active voice. So here are some examples of active and passive. So my grandmother baked the cake. It's active. The cake was baked by my grandmother. Passive. People sell fresh bread at the market each morning is active, and fresh bread is sold at the market each morning is a passive sentence. Now change these active sentences into passive. You can pause the video and try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check the answers. So the old woman was hit by the car. The window was broken by David. The chess game was won by William. And here there is no passive form because there is no object. The man swam across the lake. Technically, I suppose you could say the lake was swum across by the man. It would sound fairly odd in that situation. So not every sentence can be changed into passive voice. So the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence. So David broke the window. Here the window is the object in the active sentence, and then the window was broken by David. The window becomes the subject in the passive sentence. The verb break is a transitive verb or an object verb. So a transitive verb or an object verb takes an object in an active sentence. And if you have a dictionary, you can look to see how the dictionary shows that a verb is transitive. There will usually be some kind of notation to show whether it's transitive or intransitive. So now we'll take a look at these sentences. We stayed at the hotel. The dog died. She arrived at the hospital. These sentences do not have an object, and so the verbs in these sentences are intransitive verbs or no object verbs. You cannot use intransitive verbs in the passive voice. So you could not say, we was stayed at the hotel. Now look at each sentence. Does it have an object? If yes, then the verb is transitive and you can change the active sentence into a passive sentence. If no, the verb is intransitive and you cannot change the active sentence into a passive sentence. So the cat bit the child. So there is an object here, the child. So cat is the subject, bit is the verb, and so the child is the object. So that means that bit is a transitive verb, and so you could say the child was bitten by the cat. The boy threw the ball. So here we have the object is the ball, the boy is the subject, threw is the verb. You can make this passive. The ball was thrown by the boy, and so throw or threw in the past tense is a transitive verb. The accident happened quickly. So here there is no object, and so happened would be an intransitive verb, and you cannot change this into a passive sentence. Right? So if the verb is transitive, make a passive sentence. The man vanished into thin air. So here there is no object, and so vanished would be an intransitive verb. We remained at the bus station. Again, there's no object here, and so this one would be an intransitive verb. Many people watched the movie. So here we do have the object, the movie, So we could say the movie was watched by many people, and that so watched is a transitive verb. And Sarah wrote the book. The book is the object. And so we could say the book was written by Sarah. So wrote or write, to write is a transitive verb. Now sometimes verbs can be transitive or intransitive. The children ate yesterday. So the verb has no object, so you cannot change the sentence into the passive. But if you said the children ate the chocolate yesterday, here the verb has an object, so you can change the sentence into the passive. The chocolate was eaten by the children yesterday. So look at each sentence and decide if the verb has an object, and then decide if you can make a passive sentence. So the architect designed the museum, so we do have an object. So we could say the museum was designed by the architect. The building collapsed, no object here. The boy drew the picture. Picture is the object, so we could say the picture was drawn by the boy. And the friends went to the party. So this one's a little tricky. You might think party is an object. It's more of a prepositional phrase. Um, and I mean, technically, you could say the party was gone to by the friends, but that sounds very awkward. So I would call went in this situation intransitive. All right, now we have some true or false questions. Um, Go ahead and try these on your own and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. All active sentences have an object. That is false. It depends on the type of verb, not the sentence. A verb that takes an object is called a transitive verb. That is true. A verb that takes no object is called an intransitive verb. That is true. And transitive verbs cannot be used in the passive voice. That is false. It is intransitive verbs that cannot be used in the passive voice because they do not take an object. All right, examine each sentence carefully. Is the sentence active or passive? What is the object of the active sentence? And is the verb transitive or intransitive? So John was born in 1955. So there's no object in that sentence. So we have an intransitive verb here. He studied science. Um, Science is the object, so studied could be a transitive verb. He studied chemistry. Again, chemistry is the object. He discovered a special chemical compound. Okay, so chemical compound is the object, so this one is transitive. Helios. Um, Helios was bought by a big company. So here, this one is already passive. And today, Helios is used by millions of people around the world. This one is already passive. Last night, 2 men were killed in a shootout. So here, this one is already passive. The shootout happened in a house. There's no object, so this one is intransitive. The police were called to the house by an unknown person. This one is already passive. The police arrived. There is no object, so we have an intransitive verb here. Shots were fired by the 2 men in the house. This one is already passive. The police officer shot the 2 men. So here, men is the object. So this one is an active sentence with a transitive verb. The men were taken to the hospital. This is already a passive sentence. And they died. There is no object in the sentence, so died is an intransitive verb. So we often use the passive when we introduce new or important information if the information is about who or what did it. So the Empire State Building is tall. It was completed in 1931. So in the first sentence, all of the information is new. And in the second sentence, it is the given information because it's referring to the Empire State Building, which was already mentioned in number 1, but the rest of the information is new. And so this is called the given new contract. So the given new contract is a way in which English speakers use their language. In a new sentence, old information comes first and new information comes after it. So the example that we already looked at, the Empire State Building is tall. It was completed in 1931. So look at the sentence, the second sentence, the Empire State Building, is given information, so it comes first. So in your opinion, what is the best way to finish the paragraph? Katie walked down the street. She was thinking about her party. It was going to be a great event, and a lot of her friends were coming. Katie crossed the street without looking. So would you say a car nearly hit her, or she was nearly hit by a car? Well, if we use the given new contract, Katie is the given information, and so you would want to use she. She was hit nearly by the car because the given information comes first, and so the she would refer back to Katie. It was a very exciting match. It was Mike's turn to bat. He watched the ball carefully and bang. He struck the ball as hard as he could, and it was knocked out of the stadium. So here, the ball was the given information, so we would want to start the next part of the sentence with it to refer to the ball. Jeremy wants to be a writer. He wrote many books. He sent them to publishers, but no one published his books. One day, however, he left one of his books on a table in a cafe. A publisher called Gary Sharp picked up the book and read it. Jerry loved the book. A few months after that, would we say Jeremy's book was published, or Gary published Jeremy's book? So here we would say Jeremy's book is published because the book is the given information. All right, complete the summary about passives. Okay, so an intransitive verb does not take an object. A transitive verb takes an object. The object of an active sentence becomes the subject of a passive sentence. And the given new contract means that old information comes before new information. So these are some exercises to finish. You can use either the passive or the active voice to complete the sentences. You can pause the video, try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So the city was invaded by the Romans in 64 AD. The Egyptians built many pyramids. Hiroshima was destroyed by an A-bomb in 1945. Dickens published his first novel in 1836. Now, if possible, see if you can change these sentences into the passive voice. So the first modern Olympic Games occurred in 1896. Well, this sentence doesn't have an object, so you can't really change it into passive voice. The doctor examined the patient carefully. Here we could say the patient was examined carefully by the doctor. Betty fell down the stairs. We really don't have a true object. We have down as a preposition, and so the stairs is the object of the preposition, not of the verb. So we can't really change this one into passive voice. And I studied the passive tense during this lesson. So here, passive tense is the object. So you could say the passive tense was studied by me during this lesson. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.